Now, though, we are returning to the story that Neil Lennon has resigned with immediate effect as Celtic manager. Robert Grieve of the Scottish Sun is with us. Robert, good morning.
Good morning, how are we?
Not too bad. So give us the details here this morning. I think it emerged last night that this was going to become an inevitability, and I presume that once those leaks reached a critical mass, Celtic had to act with a statement this morning.
Yeah, I think that was always going to be the case anyway. The statement was planned. The kind of announcement to the stock exchange was planned. We got wind of it. David Friel, a colleague of mine, got wind of it early evening last night and worked on it, and the story came out online. Yeah, it's not. Listen, Celtic have been in a situation recently where Neil Lennon was pretty much on borrowed time. The results and performances haven't been good enough. So I think they did want to carry on until the end of the season with Neil, but it just reached the stage after the defeat to Ross County and Dingwall on Sunday night where things couldn't continue. So they had talks with Neil since then, I believe over the last 24 hours, ahead of last night's announcement or last night's news. And the decision was made. It came out this morning. It's been confirmed this morning. He has resigned. I think it was a little bit more than that. But anyway, bottom line is Neil Lennon is no longer Celtic manager.
How reluctant were Celtic to allow this to happen over the past couple of weeks? Because it did seem that there were numerous opportunities for them to part company with Neil Lennon over the past couple of months. Yeah,
clearly. I mean, Dermot Desmond, Peter Lawwell, they have tried to show Neil Lennon loyalty in this. Clearly, the fans have been very unhappy with the way the season's gone. It's not so long ago they were outside the stadium and virtually calling for Neil Lennon's head. So, yeah, those guys will be happy this morning that a decision has been made. But you're right, the board, Dermot Desmond, Peter Lawwell, the board, the directors at Celtic didn't want to make this decision. They felt loyalty to Neil Lennon given what he'd done for the club, both as a player and in his 2 stints as manager. And I think you can understand that. They didn't want to go down this road of having to wield the axe as such. So, yeah, they have delayed it. They've tried to manage the situation as best they could and get to the end of the season. I think we've all known for a while now that Neil Lennon was going to be the manager next season. I think in his heart of hearts he knew that himself. But he was willing to continue. He was wanting to battle on, as he does. But as I say, it just reached the stage after Sunday night's defeat to Ross County that things couldn't continue. So talks happened over the last, as I say, since then. And Neil Lennon is now no longer Celtic manager. As I say, it was inevitable, but you're right. The board did try to give him as much backing as they possibly could before it got irretrievable.
Robert, this was meant to be Celtic's greatest season since 1968, the 10 in a row. I'm sure it's not a simple answer, but where did it all go wrong?
There are numerous reasons. You look at the recruitment on last summer. You look at the goalkeeper that been out. They put all their eggs in the basket of Fraser Forster. That didn't happen. Craig Gordon was allowed to go. They then bring in another goalkeeper who's been nowhere near good enough. And you could go through the various positions and players that they tried to sign and didn't get, and they end up with the squad that they ended up with. The biggest problem for me, it became an issue for the manager to deal with, was the fact that there were players there who simply didn't want to be there. You guys, key players in the squad, key players in the team, who I think got into their heads that they'd have been leaving last summer. Now, there's been a global pandemic since in the last year, obviously, and things, the goalpost moved last summer where Celtic didn't sell these players. And to their mind, as you say, and to the fans' mind, 10 in a row was there. But I think there were players there who were more interested in getting the move. That didn't materialise. And in all intents and purposes, they put the tools away. You can blame Neil Lennon. There was problems. You can look at results and performances, the European results especially. The Champions League exit was embarrassing. Ferencváros, a bang average team, Celtic lost to them. But as you say, there's a multitude of reasons why things just went from bad to worse. We ended up with the Dubai situation in January, which was another embarrassment. Big decisions were made by both the board, the management, which weren't good enough. But ultimately, the players weren't good enough. And to come up against a Rangers team which had their heads screwed on, a Rangers team that were focused and driven towards stopping 10 in a row. And it's been a perfect storm for Celtic. They just couldn't cope with that.
When it comes to the successor at this point, the first question I would have here is, how do Celtic paint a picture of themselves as an attractive proposition for a really good manager at this point? Because yes, Neil Lennon is to blame largely for a terrible, terrible, terrible season, but there is clearly deeper problems at the club. The recruitment has not been good. Is there a bit of work that needs to be done here to actually show to a potential manager that actually this is a club that can get back on its feet pretty quickly?
Yeah, I mean, there are changes happening behind the scenes. Peter Lawwell, the chief executive, as we know, is leaving. Dominic Mackay's coming in. So there's going to be changes behind the scenes at that level. I believe that Celtic are looking also at a kind of sporting director role, a technical director role, which I think will entice a manager as well, given the problems that there has been with recruitment. That has to change. The behind the scenes structure at the club does have to change, but whether or not Celtic can get a top level manager like they did before with Brendan Rodgers remains to be seen. But that's what the Celtic fans are now expecting. The names are getting talked about. Rafa Benitez, is these guys. That takes big money. That takes big investment. And whether the club are prepared to do that at this as things stand, time will tell. But if you are a manager looking at Celtic right now, clearly there are major problems. But you're also going to get not a clean slate, but things are going to change in the summer. There are players who are going to go. A lot of players who are going to go. And if you are a manager, maybe you'll look at that as a good thing. Maybe you'll look at that as in the idea that you can come in and put your own stamp on the team. You are going to you'd imagine Dermot Desmond or the club will be able to fund transfers, especially if they do sell their best players for decent money. So there is scope there, I think, for Celtic to rebuild, but it is a major rebuild job. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And as I say, it can't be underestimated. Rangers are in a good place just now. From where they've come from to where they are now, it's incredible. They are going to be the champions, and Celtic are now playing catch up for that. But if you are a manager of a decent level, I think you'll look at the job still that it's a big job, and the fact that the whole 10-in-a-row thing's gone, you're almost starting from a clean slate.
When do you think they'll make that appointment? Do you think they'll wait now till the summer?
Yeah. I'd be very surprised. There's no point. I would be very surprised if they brought in a long-term manager between now and the end of the season. I don't see any real merit in that. John Kennedy is going to take charge between now and then. I believe he may be assisted by Scott Brown in some way, shape or form. The Celtic board would have known Neil Lennon wasn't going to be the manager next season. I think that was the biggest kind of unkept secret that has been in Scottish football for the last few months. So they will have been working behind the scenes on who's next. Dermot Desmond pulled a rabbit out of the hat when he brought Brendan Rodgers to the club at a time when he feared what was coming from Rangers, and it was a major statement. Now, is he going to make a summer kind of statement? There's speculation about Dermot Desmond's future at the club as well, and how he sees things going forward. But if Celtic can get that level of investment, and that's what it's going to require, then they maybe look to make a statement appointment, but it has to be the right man. There's a lot of names mentioned. Eddie Howe's someone a lot of Celtic fans want to see at the club, but there are names. Steve Clark's been mentioned, Scotland manager. He's got the Euros this summer, but after that, what could happen next for him? So there'll be no shortage of managers looking at the Celtic job as being an attractive one. I don't think there's any doubt about that, even though things are pretty much dire just now.
If you had to pick which one would be the most likely, who would it be? Like Eddie Howe is definitely the one that's been mentioned the most. Is he the legitimate frontrunner?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's been a name that's been mentioned for a number of weeks, maybe months now, and every inquiry we've made has kind of not really gone anywhere with that one. Listen, it wouldn't surprise me if Eddie Howe was interested in the job. Absolutely not. He's a manager who probably look at Celtic as an attractive proposition, but I think it's hard to tell. As I say, at the minute, I don't think there is a standout candidate. I think there will be a number of names. There will be guys who put their name forward, but I think right now, I don't think there is a number one candidate for the job. I could be wrong with that. Celtic maybe already have somebody lined up and be ready to go for next season, but I think it will be between now and the end of the season that they actually do the serious work of actually speaking to people face to face to determine where they go next.
Right. Well, there is at least a few months to get their house in order and make sure they make the right appointment this summer. Listen, Robert Grieve of the Scottish Sun, thanks a million.
Welcome.